now. And as you can hear, the meeting's being recorded because we want to share it to people who aren't able to make it this time.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Paul Alves. I am the director at Choice Recovery Coaching in Springfield, Massachusetts, and this is my colleague, Diana Arntz.
And I'm a research fellow and a psychologist at MGH.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being here with us today as we are going to speak about how to stay resilient during COVID-19. Okay, so our center are newly established. We are funded by DMH, the Center of Excellence for Psychosocial and Systemic Research at Massachusetts General Hospital. And we are really committed to improving the health and recovery process of individuals with lived experience, trauma, mental health, and or substance misuse challenges. So the center has been partnering with the community in all aspects of the research process. And that has been with a wonderful team of peer consultants across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So as peer consultants, we've been around the state facilitating listening groups with recovery communities, and at the dissemination of this project, we elicited feedback on resources regarding sharing topics. And not surprisingly, the number one topic was resilience on COVID-19, as well as stress management.
And Paul and I decided to approach this presentation through combining both of our expertise. So as I said, I'm a researcher and a psychologist. Paul is a recovery coach with lived experience and also one of our center's peer consultants. And we're hoping to weave in the most up-to-date research findings and resources alongside recovery wellness principles when discussing resiliency today with you. And we're so lucky you all have decided to take an hour out of your day to join our talk. Paul and I are not just sharing information throughout the talk. We're going to encourage you to share your knowledge and wisdom. You're coming in from your own expertise, from your recovery journey, and from adapting from this current pandemic. So I think we can all share our knowledge today. And so a big part of our center is to share the latest research findings with community members. And I wanted to highlight really briefly what we're learning so far about this pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has really hit vulnerable communities hard, including persons with lived experience of mental health and substance misuse challenges. In terms of a direct impact from the virus itself, what we're seeing is persons with lived experience are 65% more likely to be infected by the virus compared to the general population. That number is shocking. So those diagnosed with ADHD, bipolar disorder, depression, and schizophrenia spectrum disorders are particularly vulnerable from getting infected. Additionally, women and African American Black community members with lived experience are at risk for infection compared to their counterparts. So why are persons with lived experience getting infected at higher rates compared to the general population? So some have pointed to important social and contextual factors, such as living environments like being in a group home or working essential jobs increases risk for exposure. Additionally, some mental health symptoms may place one vulnerable for risk of infection. So for example, if a person's very depressed and experiencing difficulty with self-worth, or someone experiencing challenges with cognitive impairments may be less likely to follow protection guidelines. So persons with lived experience are not only getting infected at higher rates, they're also dying at higher rates compared to the general population, almost double. the rate for 8.5% death rates compared to 4.7 death rates from infection. So some explanations of this disparity might be that many people with lived experience often have co-occurring chronic health conditions, which may exacerbate their response to the COVID-19 virus. Additionally, stigma, fear of discrimination, as well as poor past experiences with the healthcare system may result in difficulty accessing necessary healthcare or delaying in testing and treatment. Additionally, we're seeing now that after somebody catches COVID and successfully recovers from it, 1 in 4 of those people will develop a new mental health condition. The most common ones being depression, anxiety, PTSD, and insomnia. So just the fact of catching COVID makes one vulnerable to develop a new mental health symptom. Just wanted to highlight that this pandemic has been hard on almost everybody. We're seeing just in the general population, 40% of the adults in the US recently reported experiencing increase in mental health challenges, as well as an increase in alcohol and substance use during this time. So although efforts to promote physical distancing or stay-at-home mandates really is aimed at managing the spread of the disease during the pandemic, it has led to a variety of negative consequences. So we're seeing just globally an increase in stress, anxiety, and fears, really being fueled by uncertainty, lack of control, and having a number of important values in our lives threatened kind of all at once. I also wanted to highlight that research shows that people who follow the news, particularly around COVID-19 the most, experience really high levels of stress and anxiety. But also, interestingly, those that are able to access the most accurate information and the latest information, such as those who have recovered from the virus or the progression of the vaccine, will see a reduction in anxiety levels. We're also seeing global experiences of feelings of loss and grief. So some of the audience members today may have already lost a loved one directly from the virus, but we're also seeing that this pandemic has led to all kinds of losses, important community events, family gatherings, career opportunities, finances. We're also seeing a significant reduction or changes to important behavioral health and recovery services. So some of your services may have gone quickly or slowly to telehealth platforms, so phone or video conferences. Some of your services may have been canceled altogether, or you might have noticed some of the different changes that have been in place for in-person care or meetings. Also, I wanted to highlight this new idea we're seeing. So in recent months, many countries, including the US, are reporting an increase in this idea of pandemic fatigue or COVID burnout. Reminds me a little bit about compassion fatigue or workplace burnout. It's this collective exhaustion of the pandemic. People are feeling really demotivated about following recommended guidelines to protect themselves and others from the virus. So maybe at the start of this pandemic, you were very diligent about singing the happy birthday song twice as you're washing your hands when you're out and about. And then you might have kind of been a little bit more lax. Maybe you've opened up your social bubble more recently in the recent months, seeing family and friends or going inside restaurants without masks. So what happens is when people begin to not follow guidelines closely is that we're seeing a surge of infection rates. And we've definitely seen that since Thanksgiving, and we anticipate rates to go back up after the holidays. And lastly, so there were some initial concerns around increased levels of loneliness worldwide from social isolation when stay-at-home orders and physical distancing measures were starting to be put in place. But contrary to expectations, researchers have actually not seen significant increase in loneliness across groups, but remarkable resilience for fostering social connections, new connections, maintaining connections very creatively during this pandemic. So I just want to highlight, 2020 has been something else. So we don't just have the COVID-19 pandemic, but this has been a year of challenges that we've seen nationwide civil unrest. It's been a hard election year. Some of us may personally or family members have been experiencing natural disasters across the country. Coupled with any personal challenges that we may have that may not be related to the pandemic. So it's been a lot. But wanted to do a quick poll to see over the past week, what have you been most concerned about? Let's see if it comes up. Excellent. So over the past week, what have you been most concerned about? The virus itself, or changes to important aspects of your life due to the pandemic? Any changes to work, family, school, money, access to treatment? Let's see what the audience has to say. Right, yeah, this is kind of what we expected. So it looks like most audience members that took the poll are more concerned about, the challenges and important areas of your life: school, work, family, finances. And then a third of us are very focused around concerns around the virus directly. All right.
So here we're speaking of resilience, and resilience generally defined as the positive adaptability in the face of adversity. So bouncing back and being able to do so. Now, if you want to share it in the chat, here's a question. So how do you know that you're being resilient? How do you know when you are resilient? Anybody would like to share in the chat what comes up for you? Okay, staying sober. You might have some challenges being resilient in some areas, right? Some more than others. Okay, engaging with activities that promote well-being. So you know that if you're doing that you're on the way. Right? You wake up feeling like you can restart. Right? Having acceptance, tolerance, maintaining a daily structure. Oh, these are all excellent. Okay, so symptoms might shift, and when you feel that shift, you feel like, okay, I'm moving forward. So let's take a look here. Speaking of different areas, here, this is from SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the 8 dimensions of wellness. Here we have emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, intellectual wellness, physical, environmental wellness, right? What does it look like around us? Financial wellness, the money piece that was just mentioned, occupational wellness, and social wellness. So we're going to take a brief look at all of these different areas and see what is it that we can possibly do to promote our resiliency. And please, as we go along, if you have things that you would like to share, how you promote your resiliency, in these areas, please, put it in the chat. Let us know. And throughout, also, any specific resources, let us know. Feel free to put them in the chat as well.
Yeah, for example, if Paul or I are talking about an important wellness domain, you say, hey, I've been using the COVID Coach. This is a free app developed by the National Center for PTSD here in Boston to really promote resiliency and wellness during the COVID-19 pandemic. You might put that in the chat box. You might put a link to a local food pantry if we're talking about financial wellness. So again, it's around a sharing of resources. And
Whatever they may be, let us know, please.
I just want to highlight this is an amazing app. I used it personally and also shared it with family and friends. All right, so I'm going to talk about the first dimension of wellness, emotional wellness. So psychological flexibility in research has been linked to resiliency both during the COVID-19 pandemic as well as past pandemics like SARS. So research has found that greater psychological flexibility has been consistently associated with reduced levels of stress, anxiety, depression, and increased well-being. Conversely, psychological inflexibility, particularly in the form of avoidance of difficult emotions or thoughts, or engaging in rigid behaviors, has been found to relate to poorer coping and impaired mental wellness. So, how exactly can we foster psychological flexibility? So, the first idea is engaging with the present moment. We're able to better tackle what's happening now if we're focusing on the here and the now instead of fixating on what's going to happen later today or ruminating on what's going on in the past. And one way that you can connect with the present moment is through various grounding or mindfulness techniques. I personally connect through the present moment by simple breathing techniques. I'm going to share one gift that I have used and enjoy. So what we'll do is we're going to do a community practice of breathing. So we'll breathe together slowly, following this guide for a few cycles of breath. Excellent. And so again, there are simple free things available for us to engage with the present moment. I really enjoyed this, and it helped ground me as I do this presentation with Paul. Another way to foster psychological flexibility is really focusing on what is in your control. I love this image. I found it on Instagram. Social media is a wealth of wellness resources, and this one's great. So this was developed that highlights what you can control during the COVID-19 pandemic, what you need to focus on. So I can control limiting my social media and doing my own physical distancing. I can't control the action of others or when I go to the Target if they're out of toilet paper. So I need to let that go. I just need to focus more on what is in my control during this time. Another way to promote psychological flexibility is to be open to your thoughts and emotions, whatever comes up, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm just knowing that they are thoughts or emotions and they're not permanent or forever experiences allows you to be able to free up from those experiences, let them pass through you and be more open to other thoughts and emotions. So when we fixate or push away from a certain thought or feeling, it tends to dominate really. And then lastly, committing to activities based on your values and priorities really help enhance psychological flexibility. So for me, for example, I personally value kindness. And so I try to do one small kind thing every day during this pandemic, whether it's something to promote self-kindness, kindness for my two daughters, my coworkers, my neighbors, and that's something that I value and prioritize to do every day.
And you can control that.
And I can control that, absolutely. So before we jump to the next slide, if you have other ideas that you use to promote either just broadly emotional wellness or strategies you use to engage in the present moment or focusing on what's in your control, ways that you foster psychological flexibility, go ahead and put that in the chat function. What ideas are people using now? Being outside in nature, journaling.
Mhm.
arts, challenging difficult thoughts, walking, excellent. These are all great ways. Paying it forward, love it. Definitely helps with that committed actions. All great ideas. Excellent. All right, so and then many people are offering ideas that map onto the other dimensions of wellness too, which is great. It shows kind of the interconnection of these dimensions. So the next domain is spiritual wellness. So spiritual wellness has been defined as broader than religious faith, and is this dynamic connectiveness to oneself, to others, nature, the universe, God, or a higher power, and really leads to important meaning making. So researchers have long established the link between spirituality and resiliency. A recent study found that spirituality provides hope, optimism, peace, and comfort during the COVID-19 pandemic. So how might we foster spiritual wellness? Well, Paul and I have some ideas. So the first one is you might reflect. Someone mentioned journaling. One simple thing you might consider doing is journal 5, jot down 5 things that you're grateful for at the very end of the day to try to end your day on a positive note. You might continue participating in your religious or spiritual services in a safe way. Many have gone through video platforms, conference calls, Zoom. I also see communities gathering safely outside through masks and setting up chairs. You might consider trying out a guided gentle yoga practice or introduction to Tai Chi. There's so many amazing free online classes and YouTube videos. You might set a timer to prompt daily prayer. My phone, actually, I have an app that pings me once a day to practice breathing exercises. Or you might try a guided meditation using an app. I wanted to highlight the mindfulness coach. It's the image here of if you search for mindfulness coach, that's what it looks like. It was also developed locally through the National Center for PTSD here in Boston. I love it because all the content is free. There's tons of mindfulness apps out there, but often you have to pay for the good stuff. So everything on this app is free. It's very user friendly, and I personally use it. Before we jump in, other ideas of how people promote their own spiritual wellness during this time. I see gratitude journals.
Peter's mentioning a paced breathing, as I believe it sounds like it's an app as well, which also interconnects all the different dimensions.
Oh, I love the affirmations. Simply lighting a candle at your desk. These are great. Excellent.
Now, with intellectual wellness, there's so much information coming at us from the media, whether it's online or on television or other sources, however you get your media. But really now, what part of it are you noticing that is actually helpful to you, right? So here we come into intellectual wellness. What are the different pieces that help you in that area? So for examples, the online, there are, any book that you have on paper that exists, it now exists online through your local library, or I know we're going to speak about YouTube in a minute, but YouTube has practically any and all books, and online there's even books beyond that don't physically exist yet until you print them out, right? So there's many different resources online. Educational courses, if you're spending some time at home, or you're working from home, or what are the pieces now what might be something you're interested in learning? Maybe it's for work. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just something you wanna take up a new hobby. Learning a new language, right? Here, learning about any topics, documentaries, what's available now online. It's really incredible. And here again, learning a hobby or a skill through YouTube and tutorials, and really outside, because now we mentioned COVID fatigue. Um, and that's all part of maybe being online a lot. Now I'm doing a lot more stuff. I would think I'm home. I'm not as going to be as busy because I'm home, but I'm actually, maybe I'm even busier. And the thing is, I'm doing everything from the same seat, right? So maybe you already have a set of books or a book somewhere that you've been meaning to get to. How can you grab that and then go out into, take a walk somewhere and sit in nature or somewhere else, to give you, um, to really benefit your wellness and take care of yourself that way, right? So what are some
And it
other,
looks like Karen looks like she had mentioned edX has free online courses through Harvard, BU, some of the local colleges here. Someone else mentioned TED Talks. Also, just to note, when people chat in the Zoom webinar, if you want to just make sure to click down, send chat to all panelists and attendees, because I'm seeing some people just messaging Paul and I, but these are all great tips that I think all the audience members could benefit from. So just making sure that when you type in, when you hit 2, click on all panelists and attendees, because we want to make sure we share your wisdom with the whole group here.
yes, we make it a community matter, right? Um, so physical wellness. No, yes, the 22nd happy birthday to me. Washing your hands, wearing a mask to keep yourself and keep others safety and your family safe, right? Now, what are we putting into our bodies, right? Maybe now I'm home, I'm working a whole bunch, the fridge is close by, I just went to the supermarket and filled it up with whatever. What am I taking out so that I can now nourish myself and help myself get the proper energy, right? Speaking of proper energy, healthy sleep habits. Um, it is now a good time to focus on that and maybe rejuvenate some energy. Um, Increase movement and physical activity. So now I'm actually standing. So, it's helpful with, if you're at your desk or if you're online a lot during the day, wherever you're at, what can you do to move? Can you set that timer, as Diana mentioned earlier, and maybe to do a couple of jumping jacks or something fun or silly even, right? So prioritizing your preventative care now. Whatever conditions you might have had, before then, if that's something like, how are you maintaining your health in those areas? So now you can much easier address things that are coming up due to COVID, right? We have a poll coming up now. If actually before that, if we can, somebody says, hey, I've been working for 10 months, okay, working at home, doing, somebody else says jigsaw puzzles. Oh, that's fun. I haven't heard of that in a minute. Setting a number of steps, a goal each day, and tracking them, right? So one of those Fitbit, pieces, or the iPhone actually, does it if you keep. That's interesting. I did not know that. So it makes sense that the Fitbit and the iPhone can work very similarly. There's different apps. Please let us know, what are some of the pieces that are helping with your physical wellness. I know from myself, I have a colleague that we do a little workout, once every other week together, via actually through FaceTime, which is simple enough. And then, I take it on myself to go through every day to have a little practice with that. So going on to our poll, we have a poll regarding the vaccines that are coming up for COVID. So here, if a COVID-19 vaccine was available today, would you take it? We'll give you 1 minute to say definitely yes, probably no, or definitely no. And let's see where you're at with that today. And the results are in. Probably yes. Most people are saying 17 people. Probably yes. Definitely yes is right behind that at 14 people. And then we have a few people that said probably no, and still a few that said definitely no. So very, very interesting.
And that I just pulled up the most recent Pew Research Center data on this, and our audience actually, it's higher. The national average is about 60% of people say they would get the vaccine, and 39% would not. But it sounds like the audience members today, I think it was closer to almost 70% of audience members would get the vaccine if it was available today. And again, we wanted to highlight this because the vaccine is a really important way to foster physical wellness, in particular with the virus, not just for oneself or your people living in your home, but community wellness. And if you have questions or concerns around the COVID-19 vaccine, to really talk to your doctor and get your questions answered, because hopefully it will be available for the community soon.
And I like how Jackie is reminding us that I am essential. You are essential. You are essential.
Absolutely. So we'll shift gears and I'll highlight the next dimension of wellness is environmental wellness, and it's considering interactions between your environment, your community, and yourself. And so COVID-19 has had a very unexpected effect on our planet. With people staying at home more, we've seen reductions in pollution globally. And I think this is a nice way for Mother Nature to get a little bit of resiliency reboots, and an opportunity for us to think about our direct impact on climate change. But how might we personally foster environmental wellness for our own resilience? Here's some ideas. Let me see if I get my computer. So just simply by getting outside to get sunshine really helps increase our vitamin D levels. Vitamin D plays a number of critical roles for our bodies. It's especially important for immune health. Next, you might consider enhancing both your physical wellness and environmental wellness by exploring your local urban park or hiking trails. Research finds that a number of amazing benefits simply by being in green space. It lowers blood pressure and stress hormone levels. It reduces your nervous system arousal. It enhances your immune health. It increases self-esteem and just overall mood, and it helps reduce anxiety and stress. So a lot of benefits just by being in green space. Lastly, environmental wellness does not just encompass our relationship with nature, but just your relationship with your personal surroundings. So notice how your physical space in your bedroom, your living room, your workspace impacts your mental wellness. When our personal surroundings are cared for, cleaned, and organized, we experience a greater sense of comfort. See how you might enhance your living environment by, increasing natural light by opening the windows and blinds, adding a plant and taking care of it, decluttering your space. What are ways that you might promote your own environmental wellness? What do people think? Making your bed. Yes. Any other ideas to promote environmental wellness? Vacuuming. Yeah, just changing where you work. I move throughout the house with my Zoom calls. And decluttering, excellent. One of the things that, Paul, that I do with my family is getting outside at least once a day. Um, and it can be for a long walk. It might just be down the driveway. And just simply getting outside with the girls gives us fresh air. It helps us kind of reset our day so I can better tackle those next meetings or the managing my daughter's online schools classes. Excellent. All right. So financial wellness. So many of us have been impacted financially from COVID-19 pandemic. So how might we foster our financial wellness? Well, I think the first step is to see what sort of financial resources are available and what you might qualify for, whether that's the economic impact payments, unemployment benefits, or your state or local community and mutual aid programs. There's a lot of support out there. It's just trying to find it and see if you qualify. Next, even if we're really stretched financially, it's really important for us not to miss any of our payments because that can impact our long-term financial wellness, our credit score, and our ability to access other resources down the road. So you might not know, but I would encourage you to contact your lenders. There's so many different repayment options for your mortgage, your car loans, credit cards, student loans, your utility bills. A lot of agencies are really trying to work with people on coming up with a plan that works for you and your family financial needs. Limit unnecessary purchases. I mean, you might be on the screen more or have more downtime and finding yourself online shopping. And so you might try to limit that as much as you can and save that money for the rainy day. And unfortunately, like any times of crisis, there are people who are trying to personally benefit from taking advantage of other people. So we're seeing just a skyrocket of COVID-19 scams happening. There's a lot of fake treatments and out there, and a lot of predatory loan sharks happening. So you might we're seeing, I get the scams through text messages, through email, letter, and phone call. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And lastly, if you're able to, you might consider paying it forward and contributing to a local mutual aid program, donating to your local food pantry. Our family recently donated for the Toys for Tots program so that other children might be able to have some holiday toys. So again, figuring out ways to small pay it forward, I think is great. Any other ways that people are what are the people doing for promoting your own financial wellness during this time? Any resources you're doing or found useful? Yeah, there's a lot of activities now that are free, right? Canceling unnecessary subscriptions, that's a great one. Donating clothes, especially jackets during this time, winter gear. And seeing if you qualify for food stamps. Excellent, thank you.
Now, moving on to occupational wellness, there's one of the four pillars of recovery that support all of these dimensions. So we have home, health, community, and purpose. And with occupational piece, COVID has really changed purpose, for a lot of people and all else that has gone on this year. So how do we now renew that, right? So here's a few pieces. In Massachusetts, we have career centers called Mass Hire, where you can go and really kind of reevaluate, what are my interests? What do I want to do? Do I want to enhance what I'm doing? Do I want to, maybe explore something else that I can do? So really, they're there to support you with exploring these pieces, considering possible training or education, and and then there you could connect with someone that can help you, do your resume and job application supports, and they're also, a lot of times they're very connected around the state, so they might know of some opportunities as well. It's always worth going and connecting with someone. Coming up, so we have essential workers. Really, we're on the front lines, right? Essential workers are there every day in, day out, regardless of what's going on in the numbers. So if you're an essential worker, how are you paying attention to what's going on with you, right? So that whether it's compassion fatigue, burnout, really, time management, all of these different things that really play into our wellness and can affect us. How do you foster solidarity with coworkers, right? And then for people who are remote, we already started to speak about, Zoom fatigue, right? What can you do to just maybe create awareness for yourself? I wouldn't say manage, but even before you have to, what are you managing, right? How do you create this awareness? How do you notice, hey, this keeps happening, or after X time, my back starts bugging me. What can I do, right? And then engaging in activities with other coworkers, right? And then possibly, are you speaking with your team in order to, hey, let's see, are the expectations that we have and our goals, how realistic are they? And where can we shift so that, different people's needs are met? Because people are at home, they have kids at home, they have school. I know Diana's mentioned it, and I have a little one as well. And they have homework, and then they have all these questions, and they're on the computer in another room, and how do we make all of this work together, right? So, in the middle of all of this occupation and finding things to do at the same time, hey, how do you disconnect, right? How can you make that part of occupational wellness? So disconnecting from it and looking at one of the other areas that we've been speaking about, right? So now we're starting to see how it all is really interacting together. Another piece that's up here that actually somebody yesterday was telling me about is Mass Rehab, the Massachusetts Rehabilitation Commission, and they work with people around training and education and really career supports, and they're a massive support as well. So what other areas in terms of occupational wellness here? Volunteering, yes. So somebody sharing that their daughter is volunteering. What is it that you're interested in? Maybe you just want to be around others that are doing positive things, right? Volunteering. Maybe you just worked at a soup kitchen, for Thanksgiving, for example, right? What are those opportunities within your community? Where now you're going to start building onto your wellness, whether it's connecting with others, or feeling good about helping others, feeling good about yourself, and now you're present and you're focused on a positive something, right? So it all equals wellness. So again, social wellness, once again, you're volunteering, you're around others. So, with that in mind, where are you at with your level of risk, right? Are you comfortable? Is that something you're comfortable with in certain circumstances, right? And what are those circumstances? Here, physical distancing, 6 feet apart, frequent hand washing, or using hand sanitizer, or whatever one of those things that might be helpful for you. Keeping in your in-person social circle small. Okay, maybe you have certain people in your family, or maybe the neighbor, or if you have little ones, maybe there's one of your little ones, school pod or a friend that you're able to really have in-person activities with, and then in terms of connecting through others, through other technologies, right? Where can you now find other people that you're connecting with? And can you do outdoor social activities, right? On your phone. Somebody was just mentioning, doing the Zoom calls, just walking around with the Zoom call. Well, with 15 years ago or 20 years ago, I would have never imagined this, but you could, take that, on your phone or even your laptop, and where else can you go and do these activities, right? There's free teleconferencing platforms, social media, whether it's playing games with other people on your phone, on the computer. People are having like watch parties, right, where you're watching either movies or there's concerts online now, and there are people doing performances on a daily and probably on every single hour of the day, and people are connecting from together with other parts of the world to bring concerts and music and arts, right? So here, how can you use social media to your own advantage, right? And maybe you're reconnecting with old friends from other times in life. Maybe you're creating individual groups, right, that you're now meeting, right, via online platforms. So how else? Somebody says WhatsApp. Absolutely, WhatsApp is a wonderful worldwide actually application that where you can, as long as they have your phone number, I believe it's either your phone number or your email, then and they have the app as well, you can connect with people anywhere in the world. Pretty amazing. Okay, so now in looking at all of these pieces and seeing how we've been interconnecting them and interweaving them, we have an audience poll coming up. So if you were to pick one wellness dimension that is a personal strength, or that you feel that you're doing well or okay at right now, which one of these areas is it? Let's see. Pick one wellness dimension that is a personal strength, or you feel that you are doing okay at in this past week. Keep it in the present. Okay. Give it another minute. Okay, so it looks like in the spiritual area, people are doing really well. They're at 24%. We have occupational and then intellectual right behind it. And then social. Okay, and intellectual. And then with physical, environmental, financial, and emotional, some runners up there. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. So here, I want to share a resource here with our state.
Sorry, Paul, before we jump into that, we have a follow-up poll too, to see which domain we may not be, that we may want to try to address or strengthen this next week. Because we look at a strength and then maybe an area we want to try to foster a little bit more.
Excellent. Thank you, Diana. I was going to pull a switcheroo on you.
It's okay.
Fun with colleagues time.
So one domain that we want to focus on this week. All right, so we're seeing emotional. Oh, it looks like the top is physical wellness, followed by emotional. Okay. Excellent. And I just want to highlight like that, just like recovery, resiliency can be a very individualized process. So like this week, I may be strong in one wellness area and need to work on another. And then next week, my needs might be really different. Also, what wellness strategy works for me may not work for Paul. Resiliency is also a journey, not a process. We don't get to resiliency and then like we're done. Just like I think the recovery process. I think we can all say confidently we've all had good days and we've all had hard days during this pandemic. So by setting up our own resiliency routine, practicing wellness strategies on our good days, we'd be more likely to apply these tools when we really need to. And I want to just highlight too that as we've seen in this presentation, these wellness strategies and across these domains aren't really rocket science. They're not groundbreaking new strategies all of a sudden discovered. They might be things you're already doing or used to do for your own recovery or just well-being overall. And our goal is for you to get a few new ideas and tools to try out and to think more broadly around your wellness during this time. And before we look at one of the resource, and thinking about fostering our own resiliency, it's all about goal setting and identifying good action step to cultivate your personal resiliency. So you all were able to identify one domain that you think maybe this week I need to spend a little bit more time nurturing and paying attention to. And often that's the first step, just acknowledging an area in our life that we need to address. And then I think the second step is figuring out, okay, now that I know that this is an area that needs some nurturing, what can I do to enhance it? And often what we find that with any goal setting, not just with recovery or resiliency, just any goal setting, is that we often create really general and broad goals. So I saw the physical distancing was, the physical domain was the number one domain. So, a general goal might be, this next week I want to exercise, right? And I've heard that, and I made that goal too. When we make these really general goals, we're less likely to reach it. So if you break down that general goal to become more what we call a SMART goal, a goal that is more specific, you can measure whether you've attained it, it's attainable, it's realistic, and there's a time frame around it, you're more likely to be successful in reaching that goal.
Like, I will do 1 push-up today. Did I do it? Can I measure it? Yes.
Absolutely. So breaking down that exercise goal, or that, I want to practice mindfulness goal, to being much more of a smarter goal. So the exercise goal might be, I have on my phone, I can track my steps, and I haven't been moving at all. So maybe my goal is just to get to 500 steps. And I'm going to try it out for the next 3 days, and then reevaluate my goal, right? And that's something that might be a little bit more manageable than saying I want to exercise, right? Just by simply increasing our steps. Or with the next top domain was emotional wellness. So again, a general goal might be, I want to do mindfulness. Well, I want to do mindfulness too, but how can we break that down more? Maybe it might be, I'm going to download that mindfulness coach app that Diana talked about. And this next week, I'm going to try out 2 of the guided mindfulness exercises twice, later today and on Sunday, right? So again, you're kind of breaking down this goal to be more manageable. And that's going to really set you up for more success. And you kind of build on those successes. So let's take a few minutes, keeping in mind the domain that you indicated that you want to nurture and cultivate a little bit more. See if you can create a SMART goal for that domain and put it in the chat box so that all, for all panelists and attendees to help inspire the group. What might be one SMART goal in your domain you want to address this next week? Let's see what people think. And really see if you can break it down.
I like to find how some people are mentioning, hey, squats while brushing your teeth, or positive affirmations while showering.
Yeah. And even thinking about how might you break down your goal even more. One person mentioned practicing mindfulness in the morning. Think about what specific mindfulness activity. Is it by yourself? Is it guided? Using an app or YouTube? People mentioned going to the gym. What exactly are you going to be doing at the gym? Is there a step that you might need to do before? Maybe the goal might be just getting your gym bag packed. That might be the first SMART goal. Again, seeing how you might break it down more. So again, you address some of the barriers to reaching that goal.
Really, just make it as easy as possible for you to actually follow through, for yourself.
Absolutely. Excellent. We're getting such good suggestions and ideas. And it's around starting small too. If there's one domain that's really struggling, starting small. And again, the idea with I want to go back to the wellness domain. You make one positive change in one of your wellness domains, it's going to have a ripple effect. Like I had mentioned that, I started doing a routine of going out for a quick walk with my family every day. So that was, part of the goal was to enhance our environmental wellness, because we found that we're on the screen too much and we're indoors too much. And so by going outside together, we're actually not just improving our environmental wellness, it's helping enhance our physical wellness. Being outside, we talked about the emotional benefits of being outside. So my emotional wellness is going to be increasing. Maybe my spiritual wellness if we go hiking and being in nature. Financial wellness, because I'm saving money, the activity is free. And it strengthens my relationship with my husband and my kids. Again, by cultivating one domain, it's going to have a positive ripple effect on others, and may lead to even more positive work in one or more of your wellness domains. So there's a great interconnection. I love this model. Again, great ideas, everybody. Sorry, Paul. Paul wanted to highlight this amazing resource.
There we go. Well, thank you. Yes. So, in order to get additional resources, find out what services might be available in your community. In Massachusetts, there is this website, mass211.org. And as you can see here, in the blue emojis here, you have addiction and recovery, adolescent services, education, housing, elder care, legal aid, parenting, nutrition, medical care and insurance, food, different goods, fitness. So, whatever it is, you can put it in the search bar, and it will find, a close service that will be, somewhat close to you, or maybe even next door you might not know about, right? So it's a wonderful site for the state of Massachusetts here. And now moving forward, How has, this COVID, how has this really happened? I'm sorry, I was expecting a different slide. So here, in hearing about your experience, we have a, some links with surveys, and here you can get more information on Massachusetts General Hospital centers. Um, and really, this is how we learn, by you sharing, what your experience is, and what is going on.
Yeah, our center is doing a survey. It takes about 30 minutes. It's really looking at what the experience is for persons with lived experience during COVID-19 pandemic. Um, People who participate in the survey can enter to win a raffle, or enter a raffle to win a $50 gift card. So you'll get, so that's really exciting. And again, we want to hear from you about how this pandemic has been impacting you, because research will help inform policies and practices, and we encourage you to take it. And so we'll have our team member put the link into the webinar chat function if you want more information. By clicking on the link, it'll take you to the survey, so you can learn more about it and to take it. And you can also email us if you have questions about the project.
So not only can you possibly create some financial wellness for yourself by taking the survey, you're really going to support wellness of people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and beyond, by really sharing your experience in order to support others. And then here, in order to stay connected with the Center of Excellence and really find out what's coming up, we have a quarterly newsletter that we send out with the different projects that we're doing, that involve peers and just exploring wellness. There's resource lists on there, and also future events, and we do various presentations to communities across the year. So please go ahead and sign up when you get a chance.
So we'll put the link to sign up for our newsletter, so you can know about our happenings in the chat. And in just a minute, we want to do a quick poll, because we're still determining our next future presentations. So we're interested in what topics you might be interested in learning more about. Which ones you would be what talk you would be most interested in attending.
People another minute.
All right, so it looks like a lot of people are interested in mindfulness, self-compassion strategies, kind of followed around depression interventions and how to be an active participant. Okay, well, we're going to keep this in mind. And so look out for our future announcements for our webinar talks. And just wanted to, I love this slide. And the world came together as people stayed physically apart. I think that speaks to kind of our worldwide resiliency that's happening now. I really appreciate audience members' engagement and suggestions throughout this talk. I want to see if people want to put down, one takeaway from this presentation in the chat function. What did you get most out of this talk? We will love that feedback. What is one takeaway from today's meeting? The 211 resource, the statistics, yeah. Specific apps? Okay, this is helpful. Excellent. Great. I'm so glad people are finding that some good takeaways. And we'll do a quick poll, just a feedback poll. How likely would you suggest this presentation to a friend or a colleague? Okay, we got some good feedback. Thank you all. Again, we want feedback from you on how helpful this is. And we're always looking to improve our process. And so some of you have messaged me around wanting to get access of the presentation. We're going to be posting and sending out both the talk as well as our slides of this talk for those who had registered through the Eventbrite. We're also going to be compiling a list of resources organized by the wellness domains with some more local and national resources that might foster that domain, as well as integrate some of the tips and tricks that you all suggested in the chat function. Again, this is a collective sharing of knowledge. And so this has been great. So I did want to acknowledge a huge thank you to Paul. It's been wonderful co-presenting with you. And we have an amazing team that helps support Paul and I developing this talk. This is our first resource sharing talk, and we hope to have more of them in the future. And thank you all for stepping up today, listening and participating. We really enjoyed talking today about resiliency and how to foster it for ourselves and fostering it within our community. And we're truly in this together. So thank you, everybody.
Much wellness to you all. Thank you.